Resilient. I hate this word. It was always something that people said to me. Oh, you're so resilient. Yes, it's good to be strong and to keep going in the face of adversity. But I shouldn't have to work so hard just to function on a basic level. Resilience can take many forms. It is what gives us the ability to climb mountains, run long distances, and survive harsh winters. And it is often what drives us to protest against political decisions which threaten our human rights and our safety. But disabled people like me need a lot of resilience just to get out of bed in the morning. All we can do is hope there's someone out there with an answer. 'Cause we're flying toward the light and it's starting to look like disaster. They're saying back in the day the kids had it so much easier. It's the same world, just a different fire. What is a protest? On a very basic level, it is a statement of disapproval or dissent over an idea or action. This is very vague. Modern protests are often, but not always, politically motivated. They are made on public platforms, sometimes on social media and forums instead of in public spaces where crowds can be heard and visible.
Exactly. I was on the other side. Anyway.
What makes an effective protest? A clear message, a shared goal. The right to protest is fundamental, and there are hundreds of ways to express it. But many disabled people like me are unable to exercise this right due to travel issues and problems accessing protest venues and routes, as well as being unable to adjust their lifestyle for personal health reasons, such as sensitive digestion or problems with temperature regulation. I would argue that in-person protest is the most effective form of protest, due to how it directly confronts people with a political or social issue and gets the most media coverage. However, for people like me with a disability, attending in-person protests can be the most difficult. Despite how my body can often be an obstacle to my goals, I am determined to be present at an environmental protest. I would like to show you my journey to achieve this. I am looking for a group that is active with environmental campaigning, though perhaps on a smaller scale, as this may be easier to attend events with a disability. So far, I have had no responses that inspire positive immediate action. I've been involved with Friends of the Earth Cardiff now since January 2024. I'm going to explain why I want to get involved with the group and the fact that I want to make a film about my experiences. I met with quite a lot of positivity, but there isn't much information publicly about how to adapt eco-activism events for disabled people. So there's a bit of confusion about what I would need at individual events. I chose to work with Friends of the Earth because I had an overwhelmingly positive response to my ideas. I spoke to Catherine Hughes and Camille Cossard, among many of the other volunteers at Friends of the Earth Cardiff, and they shared their reasons for also joining the group. What's your name?
Camille Cossard.
How long have you been involved with Friends of the Earth?
I believe 3 years now. Yeah, pretty much around 3 years, maybe a bit more. Got involved just pretty much at the end of the pandemic. So you must.
I've probably been involved for about was it 2024? I'd probably say about 3 years, 4 years. 4 years, I'd say. 4 years.
In addition to it being a small community-owned group, I chose Friends of the Earth because it was the closest group for me to travel to from my flat. I am en route to my first meeting here. I would normally avoid buses because I have a terrible sense of direction and struggle to recognize landmarks to stop the bus. I also struggle with the unpredictable movement of the bus itself due to being unable to trust the stability of my own feet. I am unable to drive for medical reasons, and I hate to rely on others to get from A to B. So I prefer to walk wherever possible. Of course, this is not always a practical option, and using public transport takes a lot of additional planning. Because of this, I have often felt excluded from the louder forms of environmental protesting. Baroness Tanni Grey-Thompson has expressed many of the same frustrations as mine throughout her campaigning work as a member of the House of Lords.
It's really difficult for disabled people to access protests, partly because of the transport. It's hard for them to get there. And disability access is still not seen as something that everybody should provide. People have to be reminded. And, I'm getting really frustrated, not so much around protests, but when the government were banning plastic straws. And there's a small number of disabled people who can only use a straw to drink. They were being told, oh, well, you should use glass straws or metal straws, or if you've got cerebral palsy and you can't control your facial muscles, then actually a glass straw is really dangerous. There are so many things that disabled people would like to do differently, but it's the understanding that life for a lot of people can be quite hard anyway. I think it's true for so many things. You can say you're welcoming, but if you don't actually make a positive effort to include people, then things aren't going to change.
This is the Friends of the Earth April meeting. We are struggling to find events to promote which meet our remit for Earth Day. It is difficult to know which events will spark interest, as we have only a handful of enthusiastic and active members.
Online, because you can go online, type your postcode, and there was only 3 events.
Yes, there were.
And they weren't really.
Yeah, there weren't many at all.
They didn't really match up to us. So
That's good thing in Penarth, isn't it?
Penarth was the best
I guess
one.
Friends of the Earth, the idea behind it is that it's for local action compared to, for example, bigger groups like Greenpeace or XR that have a bigger vision, probably, like more national. So I quite like the idea of doing something in my surroundings rather than going straight away into national campaign.
There seems to be an overwhelming sense of apathy and confusion from many of the volunteers as to what exactly an individual can do to affect environmental policy on a local level. I am met with much of the same attitude from people in discussions about disability. This is why it is important that everyone is included in discussions about protest and accessibility, no matter how small the contribution they can make. The April meeting included an evaluation of last month's Warm Homes campaign talk. I keep going back to these meetings because of how they keep up positivity and maintain friendships despite low turnouts. It was concluded that the Warm Homes talk would be likely to have a better turnout in winter, and that more community networking is needed at places such as universities and mosques.
Oh, quilt display. Sorry, I was reading Hairspray. Well presented, informative. Love the positivity of the speakers. It all came together in the end. Smiley face, and then this one here. We secured speakers. We had activities. Audience seems interested and asked questions. Yes, good feedback.
People are busy. I would say people, I don't know if COVID affected it at all, but, going to, say, an empty church on Tuesday night, for example, to meet people you've never met before, is quite a daunting thing for the majority of people.
As Cass suggests, getting involved with campaign work can often be daunting for everyone. But this is especially true for disabled people who have all of the same anxieties around meeting new people, as well as the conscious worries for their own safety while travelling and caring for themselves. These anxieties over keeping yourself safe and healthy often override the usual reasons that many people aren't able to actively be involved in green group campaigning. I finally managed to attend my first protest with Mother's Rebellion in Butte Park. This is a small subgroup of Extinction Rebellion, and was a very unique opportunity for me to meet new people in a much more relaxed environment. This kind of protest is an illustration of the fact that in-person protests can be effective without being active. I particularly enjoyed the Mothers Rebellion meeting, as it is a chance to appreciate the green spaces that we have. I was struck by the extent of the involvement of young children, whose parents had brought them into the movement. They were holding up placards and sharing leaflets, and appeared to have a more articulate understanding of our responsibility to our planet than many adults. This just highlights to me the importance of including everyone of all abilities in policies responding to climate change.
I think you can have not a depression, but like a negativity around climate, definitely, because you do so much campaigning and then nothing really happens. But again, with Friends of the Earth, the idea is local action, so it doesn't really, the idea behind it is not to have a big impact, it's not to change things in the UK or make a change politically to the level of the UK, it's just district by district around where you live. So it's more accessible, I would think. You don't have that pressure of being like, oh, I need to do something for the environment and I need to make a change that everyone can see. If you can make a change that you can see, it's already an achievement.
I enjoy sort of learning all about like environment and different issues. I also enjoy working with different people, meeting different people, hearing different ideas. I enjoy going to events. Like, you know, protests and making things happen.
Yeah.
So, and we've got June 22nd, there's a Restore Nature Now rally, which I think you're going to.
Yeah.
We're going to go to
Yeah,
Brilliant,
we're gonna go.
brilliant.
And Lex in Extinction Rebellion, who's wanting to do a caterpillar. Oh yeah, it's on the group. So for when anyone who wants to go, he wants to just make, and I think he's trying to get everyone in Cardiff, like all the green.
I think that would be well cute.
And just to do like the conga.
I think in Cardiff it's quite small. It's not like London, which is there's loads of different groups. Cardiff, you often see the same people. You get to know Extinction Rebellion people, you'll see them everywhere, and then you get to know Greenpeace, for example, or the different people, and you bump into them. And I like, everyone sort of supporting everyone in their own events. So if they've got an event going on, we'll make sure that we try and get the message out, and they do the same for us.
Every day, I need at least an hour to prepare to leave the house. Organisation for an event as large as Restore Nature Now in London took up to a month, and I had a basic bag of supplies ready a week in advance of the event. I don't know London very well, so I had to study city maps and tube routes to know for sure which train was the best for me to take to ensure the shortest walking distance from the station to the March assembly point. I knew I would need someone to meet me there, to support me physically, as well as to help me manage the camera. Several attempts were made over the course of the month to contact friends and volunteers who would be nearby, but I could not confirm my support was in place until less than 24 hours before the event due to communication and technical issues. The train journey from Cardiff to London went well, because the support staff at Central Station are always very friendly and approachable, and the trains are easy to get to. However, I was unable to film any of my journey in Paddington Station due to fears for my own safety in large crowds. I can also say that without the Extinction Rebellion volunteers to meet me to and from the station and accompany me in the taxi to the front of the march, I may have been injured in a fall or gotten badly lost at the station itself. Any plans to meet up with the rest of Friends of the Earth Cardiff in London quickly went out the window when we realised how crowded the event was. In theory, I could have been part of the Caterpillar Conga that was planned if I'd stayed close with the rest of the group. But in practice, to ensure my safety, I had to stay with the XR Wellbeing volunteers who navigated their way through the crowd for the whole event. I've been dragged up a hill with my relator before, so I'm all good.
Oh, really?
I was able to experience a view of London I would have never seen otherwise. But I struggled with the view of myself that being in a wheelchair imposed. And due to being pushed ahead of the march in the wheelchair, I was not able to be fully part of the group and sharing their passion for protecting the environment.
I think it was just looking around, seeing how many people were there. There was there were kids, elderly people, a mixture of people.
It is tricky, I think, not because I don't think it was successful. I think on many levels it was. There were loads of people that turned up. It was family friendly. It was a lot of fun. Protests that, try to gather around biodiversity and nature are usually more successful than protests that, try to gather around the idea of climate and climate change.
So often, disabled people have to make compromises for their own comfort and self-image to ensure they are viewed and treated equally as able people around them. I would like to make a call for disabled people to be much more vocal about what they would expect and what would make them comfortable at large public gatherings such as this one, so that these awkward compromises are no longer necessary. All we can do is hope there's someone out there with an answer, 'cause we're flying toward the light and it's starting to look like disaster. They're saying back in the day the kids had it so much easier. It's the same world, just a different fire.